If you missed something or you want additional information, I know for a fact for me, when I got started in this work, I got overwhelmed, we'll say. So I want to make sure that you have all the information so you don't feel that way. I am going to share my screen so you can see the PowerPoint. Maybe before we get started officially, I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this. This is something brand new. This Trailblazers was something that it has been needed for a very long time. We do not have at this point that I know of a strong disability advocacy and lobbying training that's statewide going on. And there's some wonderful advocacy trainings, but not a whole lot on lobbying. And so we're really blessed to have this opportunity. And I know it's a Saturday afternoon, so you're also blessing me with that. So welcome, thank you. So the first piece I want to go over is Zoom 101. Okay, so I'm showing you slides that you also should have gotten a little bit of information about Zoom in the handout if you're using captioning, but this is the most important part. If you need to use captioning, you can either click on CC or more, and you'll see just CC button. And then you'll see if you need to adjust the size. It's under video settings. And there's a slider to make the words bigger or smaller. If any of you have trouble with that, please let me know. But that's the basics on that. So you will see at the bottom of your screen probably a chat, like it says chat. If you have questions that you would rather type, you can absolutely type them and send them either to everyone or to just me. Mute and unmute. This is a super important button. So at the bottom left of the picture, you'll see a little thing that's mute. This is if something's going on in the background that you don't want heard, mute it. If you're not talking right then, mute it. I understand though that some of you will not be able to push mute. That's fine. I just ask that we try to keep it quiet so that the captioner can write everything down and not start captioning a television show. If you need me to slow down, there's a slow down button that's over near your chat box. And then there's reactions. Of course, when I'm brilliant, you need to put applause or thumbs up. I'm kidding. And then self-manage your breaks. We will have one scheduled break right around 2 o'clock. And so we'll take about 10 minutes. But if you need to move, do it. You're more than welcome to do what you need to take care of yourself. Here, you can see here is the mute, unmute, and the video. Okay. If you do not want to be on this recording of all of us that I'm going to sell for thousands of dollars, kidding, then you don't have to show your video. That is your choice. And this also will tell you some, like those little tiny arrows that's beside mute, unmute, or start video will show some of the settings if you're having any trouble. I think we talked about this, but this is the chat box. And down here where it says everyone, if you can see it behind the captioning, you can pick who you want that message to go to, and then you type and then push enter to submit it. Okay, so here's the important part. We have been supported by some amazing organizations that believe in the power of the disability voice and the fact that our community can make a difference and make legislative change. So you'll get to hear a little bit about the Women and Girls Foundation, which is this flying W symbol here. the Family Care Act, that's really what we're working on in the end product, is to get the Family Care Act passed. Paid family leave for all, they're helping to fund this, super important. We also have support from Moms Rising, Family Values at Work. So these people are amazing and really grateful for them. So here's the overall agenda. We're going to do a welcome, obviously, and it will probably run to 120 as it looks right now. Then we're going to talk just briefly about what this whole thing is. Why are you here? And what is Trail? Then I will hand it over to our expert in the room on the Family Care Act, Heather Arnay, to talk about paid family leave and the Pennsylvania Family Care Act. We'll have that break I mentioned, and then we're going to start talking about sharing your story. And this is something, if you've been in a training of mine previously, I've really pushed this because your story can change lives. And that's why we're here. Your life, what you've experienced, has the ability to improve or save someone else's life. So, introductions, friends. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to call on you to tell me something about yourself. So, I'm going to ask you, what is your name, where you're from, so what county or town, and if you could wave a wand and change anything in the world, what would it be? Okay, think about it. Okay, so I am going to start with Rachel because she's not nervous at all. Oh, you're muted.
No, never. Why would I be nervous? Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel. I am going to be the Southeast Regional Facilitator. So I'm going to be helping you guys out along with Josie here. So it's nice to meet everyone, and I'm super excited. Like Josie said, this regional facilitator position is kind of new to me too. So I'm still getting used to everything. So I am a little nervous, but I'm super excited. As far as I'm from the Bucks County Center for Independent Living in Bucks, PA. And I do know some of you on this call, but I don't know all of you. And as far as something, if I could wave a wand and change something, it would be, that's a big one. But I would want everyone to be able to get along and not so much animosity, and just everyone get along and not so much hate. I feel like there's a lot of stress going on, and some different things being said, and I just wish everyone would get along and be happy.
That would be
that's
super.
Kind of a big thing, but that's kind of what I wish.
That would be beautiful. Thank you, Rachel.
So nice to meet everyone, and I'm super excited.
Okay, Jody Steiner.
Hi, my name is Jody Steiner. I'm from Lehigh before the pandemic started. I used to volunteer at the Lehigh Center for Independent Living. And if I could wave a wand and change anything in the world, I would think everybody with a disability could have what they really need.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jody. So all individuals with disabilities have what they need. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rosemary, you're up.
Hi, my name is Rosemary. I am from the Lehigh Valley Center for Independent Living. if I could change something in the world, and this is coming from working at the Center for Independent Living, everyone would have access to affordable housing.
That's right.
And this is all, everyone, but particularly people with disabilities. We need, we need to have something where people can live and not have the obstacles and just living where they're at, that they have access to what they need to be happy.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to Pat et al.
Kim, why don't you say who you are? Hi, my name is Kim. I'm from Remax. I could way I wanted anything in the world would be to help Dollar Tree. Well, you're missing shopping, Kim. I do more than that. Need to help Dollar Tree and to help them all on the market. The people working at the stores are a lot of them.
Yes. And where are you from?
Emmaus, we're Emmaus. Lehigh County, we're Emmaus.
Lehigh. Awesome. Welcome, guys. Okay, Robbie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robbie, and I live in Berks County. And if I would change one thing, I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I think I would make medications affordable for everyone. No one would have to choose between paying their mortgage or rent and paying for life
Yes.
medication.
Oh, truth. Thank you, Robbie. Okay, I'm going to my next screen. Julie, it's you.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm also from Lehigh Valley Center for Independent Living. And Rosemary and I share the same brain, and she already said what I had on my mind. So
Understood. Tell me something else interesting.
Yeah, so I think I would like to, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd like to eradicate the stigma of childhood disabilities and go back in time, to where it all kind of begins, and make sure that the educational system is promoting an inclusive environment. And I think that's what I'm going to choose.
Sweet, thank you. Stacy, I don't see you, but I think you're there.
Yes.
Hi.
Stacy McBride from Bucks County still. And I would take away as many barriers as possible so people can live as independently as they want. And universal design.
Oh, nice one. Good keyword there. Love it. Thank you. Mr. Malcolm, welcome, sir. You're still muted. There you go.
I'm from Bucks County Center for Independent Living also. And if I could wave my magic wand and have something done, it would be just letting different populace know about intersectionality, how people from different walks of life can see the power of being united.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. That's such an important factor that I want to make sure that we keep alive in this discussion, because that is where so many of our downfalls of our services really are shown. So thank you. Okay, I am going to jump to Danielle.
My name is Danielle. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, sorry. My name is Danielle. I am from Newtown, Bucks County. I also am a volunteer at the Bucks County Center for Independent Living.
Great.
And if I could wave a wand and change anything in the world, it would be to have ramps where there should not be steps.
True that.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Caitlin Colleen.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. I'm from Lehigh County. And I was talking about working employments.
Yes.
Yeah, because I like it to be working by myself. Had to be independent. I wanted to be with myself.
That's right. That's right, Caitlin. And I think all people with disabilities should have the ability to work. And
Mhm.
part of that is this Family Care Act. So thank you for bringing that up, Caitlin. That's a huge, huge issue. Thank you.
Okay.
Erica. There you are. Good. You muted again. There.
Erica Beth from Bethlehem and Bullying.
Okay, we're using a speech device that's
Yep.
new to us, and I
Okay.
don't know if any of that came through. We're still learning how to project it. It came with a speaker, but it runs on a Bluetooth.
Okay. Can you play it one more time for us?
One more.
My name is Erica Beth from Bethlehem and Bullying.
She answered
Perfect.
all her questions in one run-on sentence. So
Yes.
it's,
No, that's how it rolls. It's sort of like an auctioneer. It's perfect. Okay. So, Erica, if you're able to type in, you don't do it the second, but something you would like to see, like if you could change anything in the world, I'll come back to you at the very end of everyone introducing. So if you could wave a wand, what would you change in the world? Okay, and I'll come back to you. Okay, I'm jumping to James. Welcome, James.
Hey.
Okay,
So
go.
my name is James, and I'm from Bucks County. Originally born in Philadelphia. Moved here 10 years ago, and loved it ever since. So if I could change one thing with the wave of a magic wand, sort of a two-parter here.
Okay.
I think the obvious answer is to make it be January 2020 again. And, have none of what's going on nowadays, because there is a lot of stress and there is a lot of worry and there is a lot of fear. And with that, there's a lot of debate and a lot of opinions. And one thing I struggle with is the amount of opinions from people. And I believe everyone's entitled to their opinion. When it comes to the disabled community, and I don't mean to put that in a category, but I feel as though when it comes to the disabled community, there is some ignorance behind the opinion. And if I could wave a magic wand and say, look, you can have your opinion, just don't be so critical, that would be awesome, because it is 2020 and there should be a lot more people who are educated and less ignorance.
That's right. Thank you, James. That's very super, super true. Okay, Miss Katie. So I'm gonna call you Katie since we have two Caitlins.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm from Montgomery County, but I work at the Bucks County Center for Independent Living. If I could change something about the world with a magic wand, it was going to be what Stacy said, the universal design for physical access, but I'll do something different. I would say I would wish that everyone could access quality education, because I just feel like without education, people kind of don't have as many opportunities. So I think education would be something I would want to improve.
Right on. Thanks. Do you prefer Kate over Katie?
Yeah, I like Kate better a
Okay.
little bit. Thanks.
I will make sure to use that. Okay, Heather, you have to do this too.
Oh, but wait, I only Letitia's gone.
Oh, in my order, we're just going by my screen because I'll lose track.
Okay, sorry. I'm Heather Arnay. I live in Allegheny County. Oh God, if I could change one thing. Well, James said, let's go back to 2020. I guess I'd like to go back to 2016.
Oh, that's a
I
whole
had a
nother story.
magic time machine. But I think you've all said lots of really great things about, wishing we had a lot more understanding. I really like what Malcolm said about intersectionality, and I think that's really key to so much of what we're trying to talk about today too. So I think that's something that's really important to me too, around understanding like all the different kinds of ways that life intersects, and that we're really complex, and so I really appreciate that Malcolm. So I'm with you on that.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. Carly, my dear Carly. Hello.
My name is Carly Miller. I am the current state title holder for the Miss Wheelchair Pennsylvania organization. I am from Allentown, PA, so Lehigh County. And if I could wave a magic wand, I would say that I would want people to be able to have access to healthcare and access to like diagnostic testing without having to break the bank.
That's right. Thank you, Carly. Is the captioning working for you?
Yes.
Coolio. Okay. Latita.
Hello, everyone. My name is Letitia Adams. I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania, Delaware County. And if I could wave my magic wand, I would want us to have accessible and affordable medical for our equipment, because some of the equipment that we need is extremely too high and our insurances doesn't pay for it at all. So I think I would wave that wand and have us have affordable medical equipment.
And can you repeat what county you're from?
Delaware County.
Sweet. Okay, thank you, tons. Welcome.
Thank
Mr.
you.
William Del Toro, are you there?
Present.
Okay.
Why am I the only one who gets, are you there?
Are you? Because I can't see your face. There you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is William Del Toro Vargas. I am from Philadelphia County. And if I could wave my wand, I would literally change how all the benefits currently work. OBR.
Just overthrow it all.
I would burn it all down and redo it.
Just a little ass there, Will.
Yeah.
Nothing big. Okay, thank you.
No, nothing big.
Nothing big. Okay, Natasha.
Yes, hi. So my name is Natasha Oliver. I am from Bucks County. I work for the Bucks County Center for Independent Living. And if I could wave my magic wand, I would like to see more accessible housing in our communities and all over.
That's right. Amen to that. Thank you. Okay, I'm making sure. Is there anyone that I missed? Okay, cool. Thank you guys so much. So here is the deal. I'm going to put up a poll and I want you to be honest if it works. That's the big question. Okay, so be honest. I'm not going to say your name, but I am going to ask you, why did you decide to join this trail training? Okay, it's coming your way in a second. Okay, so click as many as you want to click. I can read this. I'm not being a good leader. Why did you decide to join Trail? So the first one, want to help people with disabilities, want to learn how to advocate and lobby, want to work with legislators, want to get the Family Care Act passed. My boss told me. Some of you are just not saying it, but I know your boss told you. Okay. So number one, I really love those answers. There's probably other answers that you had, but All of these answers are so important, guys, and I'm so grateful that you are joining us. So the top runner is helping people with disabilities, closely followed by wanting to advocate and lobby. Super, guys. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay. So thank you, guys. You all seem pretty amazing. So I'm really excited. So a little bit about Trail. This program started actually back in February when I had written a proposal to do regional trainings on lobbying in the Family Care Act. Well, COVID-19 happened, and the traveling aspect and getting together with people was no longer possible. So that's how we came to this place of doing regional and then eventually statewide trainings on the Family Care Act, on how to lobby, how to advocate. Although the homework that you all will be doing, surprise, revolves around Family Care Act, the skills that you will learn from this can be used for any of the things that you all mentioned, from making sure that people know about the issues that the system has created for intersectionality, to housing, to needing to support your SIL. These skills will help through all of those. By the completion of this program, you guys will have mad skills. Okay, you guys are going to be able to, and already have met with your legislators. You will be writing letters. You're going to be writing articles. Don't freak out. We're going to make sure that you're okay, and we're going to support you 100%. Okay, participant roles. So you guys all seem really confident, and that makes me really happy. But I ask you guys to keep an open mind. Not all of us are Republican or Democrat. Not all of us have the same experiences. And so that's what makes this group so special, is that everyone is really different. I attend all trainings if possible. So life happens. I get it. So all the trainings will be recorded as well. So if you miss us, we'll make sure that you have the recording. At the end of the trainings starting in October, we'll do a short evaluation at the end of each training. You will be asked to meet with your regional facilitator, Rachel, between each of our monthly meetings. And so we'll probably work with all of you to find one time a month to have a regional chat on Zoom. And complete monthly assignments. And that's where I will be giving you all types of information and instructions and examples so that we can bring you and your story to life to make a difference. Okay. So you guys have already received the monthly schedule, and in the follow-up email that I will send you after this, you will receive it again. But these are the general dates. And as you can see, we're going to be talking about legislators. We're going to talk about how bills are passed. We're going to start doing legislative visits, probably virtually. So you can see down through here that we will be doing a lot of really cool stuff. What you get out of this deal, I'm asking you guys to give me one Saturday, and I'm asking you guys to give me an hour in the evening. That is time that I know you could be doing other stuff, but you're sharing that with us. And so we want to make this worth your while. So if you do this whole program from now through April, you will have basic skills to advocate for systemic change. So big change in the state and hopefully federally. Become a part of a network of statewide advocates. We know we're more powerful together. And so that's why it's so important to get to know you people in your area and your state. understand legislative process. That doesn't sound fun, but it's really important. Develop a connection with legislators. So by you connecting with your legislator, then they know you and they will listen to you because you're voting for them. You will receive a certificate of completion signed by a lot of our advocacy groups that have that are supporting this work. You will have experience in writing op-eds, which are articles, creating social media posts, setting up and facilitating meetings with legislators, and much, much more. And here's the cool one. You're gonna receive a $100 gift card for all of this work. You know, I wish that everyone had the opportunity that you guys do. And so I hope this is just like the cherry on top. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn it to Heather Arnay to share more about the bill, about paid family leave, all of that fun stuff. And Heather, do you want me to click for you? Is that the easiest?
Yes.
Okay, let me try to mute myself. And it is
And
your
the first
jam,
slide is
Heather.
a sort of video, right? Sort of a animated slide. I
There's
think.
an animated one, yeah.
Yeah, so you can go right into that one, I guess. So, so just to give you context, I'll let this run, and then maybe I'll let it run a couple of times so our captioner can also include it in the captions, maybe.
Okay, let me read it for everyone when it starts over. If it starts over. Now it decided not to start over. Never mind.
I know, right? It often loops. That's funny. I wonder if you can go back, Josie, and then forward again.
Probably. When it comes to leading on leave, the United States needs to pick up the pace. The US is the only developed nation without some form of paid family leave. Okay.
Okay, great. So, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm from the Women and Girls Foundation. And back in 2016, our organization was about to create a strategic plan looking out to 2020. So creating our 2020 vision. And we wanted to, every few years, we set a public policy agenda to focus on a piece of policy as our focus for those next few years. And we had already been involved through the Family Values at Work Coalition that Josie mentioned earlier, that had been working on paid family leave at the national level for many, many years. And we had seen that several states, and I'll talk about them later, had started to pass paid family and medical leave legislation at the state level. And in 2016, we started to wonder whether it might be time to really think about whether it might be possible to do that in Pennsylvania. And some of the reason we thought it might be possible was because a number of Northeast states really had started to have some progress, and those were particularly states around us. And again, I'll get more into detail about which of those states those were. But really, why the Women and Girls Foundation looked so closely at this issue, and Josie, I'm going to stay on this slide for a bit. Just wanted to give sort of this context for the broader issue, is that really goes back to something that Malcolm brought up earlier, which is really the intersectionality of this issue. And so because we are the Women and Girls Foundation, we wanted to pick a policy issue that had the ability to impact the most women and girls, right, lives. And what we came to realize through looking at the data, but also through talking to women and girls in many, many communities, was that the lack of paid family and medical leave was something that impacted women of different ages, different races, different socioeconomic backgrounds. This was an issue that was impacting women with disabilities. It was impacting women who were engaged in elder care. It was impacting women who were in need of it because of maternity care and in need of elder care. Women who were taking care of themselves because they had needs around their own health, or women who had children with disabilities. We came to see that members of our community who were low-wage workers, Black and Brown communities were the least likely to have any access to paid family and medical leave. So when it came to this issue, the level of intersectionality was great because it really was an issue that impacted workers from the age of 16 to 80. And we found that actually the average caregiver was a 67-year-old woman caring for her 80-year-old mother. So when it came to these issues, they were really, really great, and their impact was so vast. And then, of course, we came to talk to friends and colleagues like Josie, who expanded our knowledge around thinking about how do these issues impact folks with disabilities who could use paid family and medical leave to take time to take care of themselves. And also, if we were to build a program like this, how would we want to make sure that there was also language to make sure that folks could ensure that they could take time to take care of folks within their chosen family, because many folks with disabilities are careful not to marry legally, for example, because of the legal challenges that might provide around their own benefits. So I just wanted to provide that big context to share that it was actually because this is an issue that impacts so many individuals and families in such a robust way, that is actually why we as an organization decided to take this charge, to lead this effort. And so at that time is when we decided to begin to lead the Family Care Campaign. And in 2018, we worked with our state to secure a grant from the US Department of Labor to do a big study on paid leave and how it could be done by our state to develop a state paid family and medical leave insurance fund. And last year we introduced a bill, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. So first, just wanted to define some basic terms, and you see those on this slide, because sometimes they get confused. And those are, so paid sick days and sometimes paid family leave, paid family and medical leave get confused. So paid sick days are important too, and we're also advocates for those, but they're different, right? So a paid sick day is something that I might use tomorrow if I wake up with a fever, right? And I need to call in sick. And we are also advocates and work to develop policies so that folks have access to those. But paid sick days are something that are needed in an immediate way, right? And you might have a few of those per year or not, but there's something that are just something that's used in an immediate fashion. You can only use a couple of them at a time. And it might be because you have a fever or a cold, or your child has a fever or a cold, and it's something that's sudden and it's not planned. And that would be a paid sick day. Whereas paid family and medical leave is a much longer period of time, and it's something that can be predicted. So either you know you're going to have surgery, or you know somebody you're caring for might be having surgery or need rehabilitative care, or you're going to have a child, or you might have other kind of planned care or planned rehabilitative care. Or if you're in an accident, or if something happens within your own health and you know that you will need more time off, and you can get a doctor's letter around that, but it's longer periods of time. And we'll talk about the amount of time, but you'll hear in our bill that there's up to 12 weeks, 20 weeks of available leave versus a couple of days. So that's the difference there. And then also sometimes, and you'll hear this sometimes that legislators will talk about, or corporations will talk about, just providing parental leave as a solution. And of course, that kind of leave is just around as it sounds, parental leave, people who have just had a child come into their life. And of course, that's a wonderful and important thing. But of course, it's also limiting because it wouldn't cover all the other times when all of us need to care for ourselves or somebody else who needs care. And that's why we as advocates are really in favor of paid family and medical leave, which includes parental leave, but is much more inclusive of all the other ways and all the other times that all of us need time to care for ourselves or somebody else. Whereas parental leave is really extremely limited just to those singular times involving infant care. Okay, now we'll go to the next slide. So just a couple of other terms, another term that you might have heard of is FMLA, which is the Federal Medical Leave Act. And so sometimes people will say, well, don't we already have family leave? And the answer is, well, some people have access to a form of family leave and it is unpaid. So that we think that's kind of lousy anyway. But not even all of us have access to that. So what the federal bill provides is unpaid job protection, which only applies to businesses of 50 people or more, which most of us don't work for. The majority of Americans work for companies of 50 people or less. So the majority of Americans are not protected by FMLA anyway. But if they are provided unpaid job protection up to 12 weeks. And that can be used to take care of themselves, their parents, or a child under 18. It does not provide coverage to care for a grandparent or a grandchild or someone who is not, let's say, a spouse, legal spouse, or someone who is a partner or a chosen family member. So it in and of itself is a very limited benefit. Whereas a paid family and medical leave insurance fund, which is what we advocate for, is paid. So that's an important difference. You would be paid for your leave. It sometimes offers broader job protection. It applies to all businesses of all sizes. The time can vary in some states up to 26 weeks. And it often includes a much broader family definition. Okay. So yes, this is our feeling that everyone needs paid sick days and paid leave, and we don't want to leave any workers behind. And that is the core value of our movement that we certainly want you to join us and be part of. So there are already several states that have passed bills in their states that have made paid family and medical leave insurance funds exist and providing paid leave right now to the constituents in their communities. So right now, over 33 million people already have paid family and medical leave in their states. And that, I think, sometimes can feel incredible to those of us in Pennsylvania to realize that if we lived in New York or New Jersey or Rhode Island or DC or Massachusetts or Connecticut or California, we would have paid family and medical leave available to us through our state, regardless of who our employer is. And it is because of this landscape that we at the Family Care Campaign believe so strongly that now is the time where Pennsylvania really needs to do this. Because if you look at these states, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Washington, DC, I mean, these are the states around us. And at this point, we really think it's a market disadvantage to our state to not have this bill in place and not be offering this to the people of Pennsylvania. Next slide. So let me tell you a little bit about what's in the Pennsylvania Family Care Act. The basics are that it provides up to 20 weeks to take care of your own health incidents. So if if you were needing to take time off to take care of yourself, it has up to 20 weeks for that, up to 12 weeks to care for someone else. Yes, that does include an infant, but it also includes a child, a spouse, someone who you've chosen to be a member of your chosen family, a parent, sibling, spouse, all those different kinds of familial and chosen familial relationships. It's supported by workers, and it's not determined by the employer. And I'll get back to that in a second. And benefits are managed through the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry. And it's really this piece, which is that it's supported by the worker and not determined by the employer, that makes this so critically different, special, and important for all of us, and why we think this is such a winning strategy and model, and why all of these other states have been able to pass this kind of legislation and establish these models. Next slide. So here in Pennsylvania, as I mentioned, our coalition and our campaign, the Family Care Campaign, which Josie has been a very strong member of, we have been successful in this legislative session to introduce bills modeled on what the other states have done in both the legislative chambers, the House and the Senate. In the Pennsylvania House, there's a House Bill 1739. It was introduced by Representative Wendy Thomas. She's in Montgomery and Bucks County. So a number of you mentioned being from Bucks. And she's the Republican lead sponsor. And then her Democratic co-sponsor is Representative Dan Miller from Allegheny County. And then in the Senate Bill 580 was introduced in the PA Senate by Senator Dan Laughlin, who's the Republican from Erie. And then his co-sponsor is Senator Marie Collette, also from Bucks County. And then the Senate bill actually had a hearing in the Labor and Industry Committee on January 28th of this year. So right before the COVID stuff just got started. So, as you can all imagine, we were really just having such good momentum on that bill. And then, COVID and the lockdown. At this point, this is part of why we need all of you so much, because both bills really need to get out of those committees and onto the floor before November. The legislative session ends at the end of the year. And if these bills don't get a vote, then they don't become law. And we have to start all over again at the beginning of the, it's like, don't pass, don't pass, go, like we have to start right back at the beginning. It's like Chutes and Ladders right at the beginning of the game board all over again in January. Josie will, give you all sorts of ways around how you can help advocate for these bills. At the bottom of this particular screen is information around how you can use your cell phone to do so. And we're going to go to more slides that'll get into more details to answer, more detailed questions around these bills. And I'm, of course, here to answer more detailed questions. But I think what's most important at the big picture to understand about the difference between the Paid Family Care Act and kind of like how we have or don't have access to paid family and medical leave now is that it provides us as the employees to really be in the driver's seat, as opposed to the employers, that whether we have access to paid family and medical leave is no longer about who we work for. And we'll go to the next slide. And then Josie, I know we'll probably do questions maybe like between my section and the next section. Yes. Okay, great. Because I'm sure folks will have questions. So just for you to all know, this is a really popular issue. I mean, you might know this just like in your own bones and from your own experiences, that this is something that is just something that everybody needs and wants so desperately, and so few people have. So only 13% of workers have access to paid family and medical leave through their work. So a very small minority of people in this country have access to paid family and medical leave, and yet a huge majority of people want it. These are polls done in our state, but they really reflect the rest of the country too. 78% of Pennsylvania adults favor establishing a statewide program, and those numbers hold true across gender, age, educational attainment, household income, marital status, parental status, generation, age, employment, and party. So this is not something that's a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. In fact, so few things, a number of you talked about at the beginning, how folks are so polarized right now. This is one of the very few issues that we hear Republicans and Democrats speak in favor of, both the legislators, people and legislators. So, at the federal level, you hear legislators talk about it. This is probably one of the only things that you'll hear at both the Democratic convention and the Republican convention. It's probably one of the only things you'll hear come out of Joe Biden's mouth and Donald Trump's mouth. You'll, I'm sure, hear Ivanka Trump talk about it this week. You heard lots of people talk about it last week at the Democratic convention, right? That's really interesting, and it's really rare. So it just speaks to how important this issue is. And yet, as popular as it is, these bills are sitting in committee, right? And that's why your voices are so important, because it's really hard to get a bill to pass through any legislature, and it doesn't happen without advocacy, and it doesn't happen without people working really hard to make it happen. So, but you should know that like the whole state has your back because 78% of Pennsylvanians really want this to happen, and even the majority of employers want it to happen. And that's because 2/3 of small businesses say they can't afford to do it on their own. And we saw this when COVID hit, right? Because when COVID hit, small businesses let their people go and furloughed employees rather than giving them paid leave, because they didn't have paid leave to give them. And it's heartbreaking, because if we had had a paid family and medical leave insurance fund in our state in place, people could have been on paid leave instead of being let go. And that's why we need, that's one of the reasons why we need this so greatly. Next slide. So the way that it works is that employees pay into the state family and medical leave insurance fund. You're basically paying half a penny on the dollar. So it comes out to, we do have numbers we can give you, but it's incredibly marginal amounts of money. And that's why the polling's so high, because all of us that don't have it know what it costs. Everyone talked about how expensive medication is. And we know what happens when a medical incident happens and then we lose our jobs. So not only are we then in a medical situation with ourselves or someone we care about, but then we've now lost our job because we have to take time to care for ourselves or that other person. So if it were about paying $30 a year to have 20 weeks of coverage, to be able to take time off and be paid during that time off, I don't know about you, but I'd be happy to pay that $30 a year. So, so that's what happens. We all pay half a penny on the dollar. It goes straight into the fund in the same way that we pay Social Security or workers' comp or unemployment insurance, where you don't even really kind of notice it because it happens, right? And folks who are the same kind of thing with taxes. Like if you're under a certain amount of money, you're not even paying into it at all. And one of the things that's really nice about the way that the fund pays back out is that it's a sliding scale in favor of low wage workers. So for folks who are making up to the standard, up to a certain amount, they will be getting 90% of their wages back when they're paid. And then the more people make, the less they get paid back. So for people who make $100,000 a year, they're not going to be getting 90% of what they make, because they can live right on a smaller percentage of their weekly wage, but someone who makes minimum wage cannot. So in some of the early states that established paid family and medical leave insurance funds, they had originally just done a flat rate. Like when you get paid your paid leave, everybody gets 50% their pay. Well, that sounded fair, but it's not fair if you make minimum wage. No one can live on half of $7.50. So that wasn't fair, and low wage workers weren't able to take advantage of it. So we've now learned from their mistakes, and our bill doesn't do that. Instead, low wage workers would be making basically all of what they make, and then only the wealthy would be making a smaller percentage of what they get. Employees would receive paid family and medical leave benefits to care for themselves in the event of a serious health condition, or to care for a close family member, or to care for a new child, or qualifying as a circumstance involving a member of the military as well. And that's been really important. And we have a lot of veterans groups who've been really key allies with us in this because of that benefit. And also another really important piece of this bill is that self-employed people could elect coverage through the program. And that's really been key, because self-employed workers do not have this benefit right now. And so if they aren't working, they aren't getting paid. And that makes, of course, it really, really hard for folks who are self-employed, who then are working sick, who are working and can't take care of the people they need to take care of in their own families. And in the gig economy, this is a real issue. And so in this model, they can pay into the fund, and therefore self-employed workers and gig workers would have paid family leave through the paid family and medical leave insurance fund, just like everyone else. So just briefly, because I want to make sure we get quickly to all your questions. What size businesses? All of them. What types of workers? Everyone. What would it mean? It would mean that we'd all have paid family and medical leave for circumstances like COVID and all the other times in our lives when we need it. And really, we saw that with the states that had this already in place, they were able to use it as a bit of a buffer when COVID hit. I want to open up for, I don't know, Josie, do we have more slides after this? Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so there's this time off one, and then there's,
okay,
it goes a little bit further.
So before I go to the federal, maybe I should, and I think is this the last slide on my section anyway?
Yes, you have this one and this one.
Okay, so let's skip this one. That's just some more detailed stuff. So I'll just do this real quickly, and then I want to open to questions. And this is just to quickly share that. So I've talked a lot about the state bill, and you all, I hope, know that, in the last few months, because of COVID, in the federal legislation, the federal response, and the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, advocates, we were able to successfully get some paid sick days and paid family leave into that bill. And we've done a lot of webinars here in the Family Care Campaign has done a lot of webinars. The Family Values at Works folks have done webinars, and we have them recorded. So if anybody wants more information around how to access paid sick days or paid family leave, or in case you aren't sure whether you might have access to those things through those federal bills, we can provide information to you around those. But unfortunately, they leave a lot of folks out. They leave anyone who works for a company with over 500 employees, which is basically almost all our essential workers. Folks who work for healthcare systems, folks who work for delivery systems, folks who work for grocery stores, who work for the post office, folks who work for FedEx, folks who work for Amazon, folks who work for UPS, folks who work for Giant Eagle, Amazon, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, the list goes on and on and on, right? Target, Walmart. I mean, you think of any place that stayed open when everybody else was locked down, those workers were left out of that bill. And then, a lot of small businesses, as you all know, furloughed their workers before that bill passed. And so those workers were left out as well. So we are at the federal level. There are 2 bills, the Family Act and the HEROES Act, that were introduced in the House. And passed by the House, but the Senate has not picked them up. And those bills do include those workers, and we are in strong support of those. And Josie, while you're in your training, we'll be able to forward you more information about those. As we look towards the November election, again, not about party, because you hear both parties talking about paid leave. I think what's exciting about this issue, and what's exciting for you as advocates, is it's such a great opportunity to be able to talk about an issue that is not about party, but is about families. And it's an opportunity to be able to talk about something that really both parties should be including in their agendas, both parties should be including in their legislation. And regardless of who wins in November, that both parties should be including in their agendas in January. So when your trainings continue after November, we'll probably do a policy briefing with all of you to debrief on, what happened, who's going to be, in charge at all these chambers and places, and what does that mean, looking at these issues. And it will mean something. And that will be interesting and exciting. And I think it will really position you as advocates to be in a really powerful place to be able to tell your story to hopefully people who will be in a position to do something that maybe can really bring paid leave to a lot of folks who will need it. So we're watching these 2 federal bills right now. And the state bill, the Family Care Act, and we'll over the next few months be asking you, if you can, to really help advocate for them. So that was a lot of information.
Yes.
Very quickly and Josie will be telling you more about these things. But why don't I open for questions?
Whoa.
Or do you have time for that? Sorry, Josie.
Yes. No, you do. And this is such an important part. Okay, guys, take a breath. That was a ton of information. Okay. And, there are pieces that I forget. There's pieces that the legislators who are running this bill forget. So we don't expect you to know every detail. That's what we're for. We are here to help you. So we have 10 minutes and I want to give you 2 options. Okay. You can either use this time to breathe, walk around, move, use the bathroom, or if you have questions, then I would encourage you to stay and ask them. So, does anyone have a question? It's up to you. You can either type it, or I see you, and that works too. Malcolm, that's perfect. So he raised his hand. So Malcolm, go ahead.
Hold on. I was going to ask about the federal and the state to see which one is more promising, because I know you said, well, it doesn't matter which party, but everything's bottleneck in the Senate right now.
Mm-hmm.
So which one is more promising? Is the state more promising? Because I know in Washington, that's a bottleneck that's not going to clear up right away.
This is such a great question, Malcolm. And so Josie and I have been working on the state bill these last couple of years because, as you so wisely pointed out, over the last couple of years, we really have felt like the Congress has been such a bottleneck, as you have said, that it was our opinion and I'll just speak sort of for the sort of family care campaign here in Pennsylvania. It was our feeling that right now, the national was, it, you know, while we support them and their effort, we are part of, you know, Family Values at Work, right? You know, while we will do our best to advocate, right, to our legislators when those bills are happening, we too felt like Congress was a bottleneck, and we felt like there was really an opportunity here in our state because, as I mentioned, all those other states around us, right, starting to be like dominoes. And so we worked very hard to make an important case here in our state and to find sort of the right sponsors for this legislation. So as you could see, we had bipartisan sponsors of that bill, and we have Republican lead sponsors of that bill. And that's because the Republicans are in the majority of both chambers of our legislature. And we wanted to make sure that whoever were the lead sponsors of our bills could move those bills. And actually both Republicans who are the lead sponsors of those bills are both Republicans who are in seats that they need to win. They are not, you know, like old timers who are really comfortable in those seats. Both Dan Laughlin and Wendy Thomas are sort of moderate Republicans, and they have competitive races. And those, right, I see the people in Bucks sort of, you know, so that's important because, right, they need high profile bills. They need to be doing work. Their party should be trying to help them move legislation. So there were lots of reasons why we thought they would be good sponsors, why we do think they are good sponsors. And we have been investing quite heavily in this state in that campaign. And really activating all of you at this time is part of that strategy. And you know, I mentioned that we had gotten the Senate bill into a hearing in the Senate Labor and Industry Committee in January. And that was part of our timeline strategy. And we thought, okay, great, it's January, we're in the hearing, and we got the whole year. And then, as all of you know, bam, you know, January 28th, and then suddenly, you know, we're all locked in our houses. So, and here we are, and it's September, and the legislature just doesn't have a lot of time left that they're going to be in the legislature before the end of the year. And then it's not that that's the end of the show, it's just then we'd have to reintroduce those bills in January. So we do have a really good chance here in this state to do this. But that's part of why we're trying so hard to advocate so hard right now at the state, because we think that it's important to put a lot of pressure on these legislators to see if we can get the state bill to move before the end of the year, because there is lots of good momentum around it, and there's lots of good reasons for them to try to do it. So as far as, you know, that's concerned, I think the state is a good place to be putting lots of energy. If depending on how, to be frank, depending on how elections go in November, that will determine the other part of the answer to your question, right? And that's why we will come back to talk to all of you to debrief on what happens. Everything will not necessarily, we don't know how things will change, but we know there'll be changes, right? And in both the state House and Senate, the federal House and Senate, and we'll know something about the White House, even if the White House continues the same administration that says something. If the White House changes administrations, that also does something. And certainly the heroes, the two bills that we talked about are supported by the Democratic House. If the Senate were to become a Democratic majority, then those bills would have a stronger chance of moving in the federal government. And you all would become incredibly important in helping to move that at the federal level, because our Senator Toomey would need to hear from more Pennsylvanians. So it's very interesting, right? Because what happens in November will really answer Malcolm's question, right? And it's, and then we'll all have to talk as a group, right? About like, all right, well, where do we want to really put our time? What do we think is the place that will have the greatest chance? And so it's an interesting time, but from between now and the end of the year, it's sort of like it's the state, right, in a big push, and like a supportive push to national, as they kind of try to plow, as they, you know, they continue to keep up the noise, I'd say. Is that a helpful answer?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Josie, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. So we have about 5 more minutes for you guys to get up and move around or ask other questions. Do you guys have any other questions for Heather? You can either wave your hand, unmute, type them.
Letitia, I should say I'm reading the story in the chat. I'm glad to know your daughter's connected to an attorney already, or I was going to recommend some.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, guys, we have about 5 minutes for a break. Do what you need to. So according to my watch, I'll give us till 20, 23, 22, 23. So I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
Start somewhere. Right now, just explaining what's going on. Okay. Yeah. They're going to teach you how to write letters to your daughter's people. Okay, that's right. That's right. I'll do this. So first, they have to explain everything at the high level.
do you forget all of stuff like this?
Yeah.
What she said, her answer with the on the federal level. Remember she said Congress about what you call it, about Congress are Democrats. They don't want to allow the Democrats to pass any bills or anything and make the Democrats look good. So Congress is actually a closed door. They don't want any bills go past for that reason. But the Republicans who are more willing to listen and are more willing to listen to you guys and try and push this bill forward. Some of those Republicans are people that are up for election too. So you get more done with those people. So they analyze who their audience is for when you're advocating. They try and find the best route for you. They want people at your level to be able to go there and rate them and say, listen, these are my issues.
Yeah.
This is what I hope for. You know? It's like what's going on in Seattle on that. You got all the bad people who they think they're in power because they're in numbers, but they're not in numbers really. Because it's more of a silent majority who keep it quiet and keep watching.
Okay, guys, we're gonna get started again. Heather, are you still with us? I see a question about
Yes,
the
I
lawyer.
am. Yes.
Do you see that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if you can type
Josie, yes.
share some resource, that would be awesome.
Oh, sorry. Let me look in the chat. I didn't see the question, but I can't see the.
Did you find it?
Oh, Letitia's.
And if possible, can you share in the chat?
So yes, Letitia, I was gonna suggest Women's Law Project. So it's an organization. Josie, do you know them?
Yeah, them or the Health Law Project.
Yeah, so either of them were gonna be kind of my recommendations. Josie, since you have Letitia's contact information, can I forward you the Women's Law Project contact info?
Absolutely.
And maybe then you could forward that and the Health Law Project contact info both to Letitia?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if they can't help, they'll give another referral. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they'll either be able to help or they'll refer her to someone who can help.
Okay, well, thank you. And thanks for coming back, everyone. So we're gonna wrap up today with just a little bit about telling your story, because that is why each one of you is so important in this process, because legislators are moving bills that impact the lives of the people who are voting for or against them. And we know that unless people hear our stories, they often don't understand why certain issues are so important. They don't understand why something like the Family Care Act might be important, or these other bills that you might be thinking about. So why it's important to tell your story. It helps you become confident and independent. So I would assume with many of you working within disability groups that you guys are pretty confident, but the more you share your story, the easier it gets. Your perspective is unique and can bring new ideas. You represent a population whose voice may not be at the table. And that's huge right there. We know that people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the country, in Pennsylvania, and yet we are often not at the table where it happens, if you guys are enjoying Hamilton as much as I do. And so I would like, your voice matters, and we want each of your stories to be a part of this. Sorry. Okay, story help us identify with something or someone to help make that information stick. So we might tell you some fact, but it might not stick in your mind unless you hear a story about it, unless you can think about someone that you can connect that issue to. And that's what makes it real and powerful for each of us. Stories are often more memorable and motivational if the audience can relate. So, if you were abducted by aliens, it might be hard to connect because most of us have not been. But if you can say, I have been sick, I've had an operation, I needed care, there are a lot of people who have been there. And so finding that piece where you connect to someone else's story is really important. Somewhere where there's strong emotions. It's really hard to get a point across if you don't really care about what you're talking about. I feel like many of us have had teachers a lot like that. They're just there because they're ready to retire or they need the paycheck and they don't really care. And I can promise you, you did not learn as much from that teacher versus teachers who really are passionate about what they're teaching. The speech is laid out clearly. So, when you are opening a statement, your story with a very clear objective, you talk through the situation either chronologically or time order, or if you are talking about it in reference to the bill, that's easier for others to follow. And if there is an understanding of how the story ties to the message. So you need to bring it together. So if you're saying, I want the Family Care Act passed and I have a puppy named Remington, that doesn't match real well. So that your story that you're telling has to be related to whatever you're advocating for. So what's holding you back? For some people, they don't like to share their story because of fear of judgment, maybe a fear of public speaking, a lack of opportunities, or feeling that your story doesn't matter. And that's where I want to encourage all of you that your story matters. So here's this story cycle, and it might work for some of you, it might not. But when you're looking at putting your story together, you need to think about what story to tell. All of us in all of our lives have lots of stories. I could tell you a story about my dog. I could tell you a story about buying houses. But if we're thinking about the Family Care Act or a certain other bill, then you need to pick a story that reflects that topic area. You need to outline with key info and facts. So there might not be numbers and data, but there might be strong emotions. There might be really specific details that would help the audience to understand and feel those emotions. You should write it down. For me, I write notes. I'm not a very good reader, and so I tend to not read stuff. But if I have a bulleted list, I do much better. Practice. I hate practicing public speaking. But it's really important because once you've spoken it out loud, it's so much easier to do it a second and a third time. Present it. So this is the actual sharing part, and evaluate after you've shared it. Did it achieve what you wanted it to? So what's your statement? We're going to talk about the S's of sharing your story. So statement. Identify concerns for you or your family. In this situation, Family Care Act. for that situation, that issue, identify issues that may be concerns to others. So there are other people who do not have paid time off, or a family member has not, and so they have not received the care that they needed. Choose an issue that you want to work on. In this situation, we picked that issue for you. But as you move forward and use this information, you will be able to find more issues to share it on. So the subject, because the Family Craft reflects so many areas of life, you could talk about it reflecting your health, but it might also reflect employment. It might affect independent living, because if you lose your job, you might not be able to pay for housing. And so it can be a part of almost any of these blocks. Style, what type of style you're going for. So are you motivating? You're trying to get people fired up to make a change? To inform? Are you trying to promote an event or that campaigning story? Or are you trying to do more education to provide information on a specific topic? And I would say when you are working on your story, you might have elements of all of these parts. What's your swag? We all have swag. You know, whether it be your fancy shoes, whether you're really funny, whether you're really a motivational, powerful, emotional speaker, you need to think about what is the feeling you want people to leave with. Do you want them to laugh and, you know, find you really friendly, and or do you want to be taken really seriously? I think there's a happy medium for all of those. What's the significance? What makes this presentation or your story different but relatable to others? So what makes you different and your story stick with that person, but how is it similar for other people? So when you are prepping to share your story, you will probably outline it in some format. So stating the point of the story, what details you want to include, identifying any additional information, describing what you want them to know, then write it, then rep, which is review, edit, and practice. Then presenting it. Now this is down the road. Do not stress out about presenting it yet. We are not there. We will build up to this. So eventually we will have a whole session on sharing your story out loud. And it's important to speak slowly. It's important to find people that you're comfortable looking at. Some people either don't pay attention or they just have that resting bitch face and you're like, nope, don't want to look at them. So I would encourage you to find a safe person to look at. And do what works for you, whether that be actual reading or looking at notes. But practice different ways, because I didn't realize how bad I was at reading in public until I did it at my graduation. And that's a bad time to figure that out. I was a graduating valedictorian and I got up there to read my speech and I literally almost blacked out because I got nervous, my eyes blurred, and then I got real clammy. And so I had to cut my speech short because I thought I was gonna pass out. And you can use your fingers to keep place on your page, so you don't lose track of what you've said. Other ways that I do it, I color code stuff so that I know I'm looking for pink or yellow, and that's been really helpful for me. You will need to review it, think about how it went, talk to an honest but loving friend who heard you speak, to give you feedback. Tips and tricks. Time is subjective. Don't be afraid to take a pause. That is something I struggle with. I tend to speak in like paragraph form and not sentences. In normal conversation, we all pause, but sometimes in front of an audience, we just ramble really fast. Stick to the topic. There are some individuals who tend to swerve off topic, and we all do it. But when you're speaking to an official, it's important to stay on topic. Keep the flow. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And try to stay positive. We're not there to make accusations of decision makers. We are not trying to shame them. We are there to connect and to focus on something we want changed. And we don't do that by making enemies. Okay, so this is the big part of it, is why is your story important, or why is the issue that you're important is important for systemic change, which is just system-wide, Pennsylvania, nationally. Why is the change that you are looking at trying to achieve important? And that's probably the starting point. Like, why do you believe that the Family Care Act matters? Why would it matter to you or to others? Now it's your turn. So don't worry about writing word for word your story. I have given you a couple of handouts. I sent them to you yesterday, and then I will send them again today that will help you to think about your story. So here's one of them. I know that's hard to see, but it's called Storyteller Question Sheet. And it's sort of a fill in the blank. And some of these will not necessarily apply to your life, but I wanted to give you kind of a prototype of what your story could look like. Then the other sheet is telling your story. Heart, what are you feeling? Your emotions. Your head, explain what you and others are working need to be successful. And then hands, tell how and why you got involved in this movement. So why does Family Care Act matter? What got you to speak up? All right. So before I jump to this, I want to know if any of you have initial questions about sharing your story. Oh, I got a tip here. Heather, share your tip with everyone.
So my tip was just sort of related to earlier when you were talking about when you're preparing, and this is for, I guess, down the line when you are all going to visit a legislator to tell your story. But one of the things that I always do, and now it's so easy with the internet anyway, but I always research the legislator before I go to visit them to see if there's anything in their story that I can connect to my story. So it can be as simple as, you know, if they have daughters, and I'm going because I'm from the Women and Girls Foundation, and that's always helpful. You know, and especially look at the Family Care Act, it's if they have children, you know, that's always good to know. If they, just learning about who they are, anything about them is helpful, because you might learn that they went to college where your brother went to college, or they play football and your dad played football, or, you know, they're fans of the same team you are, or they live in the same neighborhood that your aunt lives, or anything that might be just somehow something to connect to is helpful. And I just remember when we met with Senator Laughlin, we went with a gentleman from the Veterans Breakfast Group, and I always think of him as like the grand master of this, because he had clearly done so much research on Senator Laughlin that he had read up on Senator Laughlin's father and the service that Senator Laughlin's father had served. So of course, this gentleman was a veteran. And so he brought up, knowing that Senator Laughlin's father was a veteran and the service he had done, and that Senator Laughlin had actually taken care of his father when his father was sick and in hospice. And that was part of why this issue of family care was so important to Senator Laughlin. So it ended up that when the person we were bringing to talk to Senator Laughlin about his own story about being a veteran, and this gentleman's story was about how his concerns around family care, the lack of paid family and medical leave, were because a lot of post 9/11 vets have a lot of injuries that they've come home with, and they do not have paid family and medical leave with the private sector jobs that they have now. And those injuries have come home with them and are not going away. He was, of course, he was there to tell his own story, but connecting to Senator Laughlin and his dad's veteran service, and then Senator Laughlin taking care of his father in hospice was so powerful. I've always thought that's actually a really big reason why Senator Laughlin decided to sponsor this legislation. So as much as we think about our own stories, it's worth taking the time to read about the legislator and his or her story, and how you might connect those.
That's right. That's so right. And when we prep you guys for meeting with legislators, we're going to use that tip. And there's so many things. Have you ever gone into a situation where the first thing someone says is negative, like, thanks for submitting this paper, but it sucked, something to that effect? Well, you're not going to listen to them after they've heard you insult them. So it's so important to go in there with a positive attitude. Thank you for supporting the ABLE Act. Thank you for whatever. Even if you don't agree with a lot of stuff, find something that you can say thank you, or hey, I saw that you like animals. I have a dog. There's so many things beyond politics that we can connect on, and that human connection is vital for all of this. So don't be caught up in the political side of this yet. That will be sort of step 2, but step 1 still comes back to you and your story. Why would the Family Care Act be helpful to you, or would have been helpful, whether you're an employer or employee, or maybe you don't have a job? And this is something very important. There are a lot of people with disabilities who are not yet taking jobs, in part because they're afraid of getting sick and not having time off. Maybe you're going to need to have surgery or treatment, and you're afraid to pursue a job because you're going to need to take a fair amount of time off. This would handle that problem. So, there's so many different ways that this could be helpful to you or someone you know. Okay. Are there any questions on specifically sharing your story? As you're quiet and you're making me nervous. Okay, Amacha, I see you, Erica. Once you're able to share it well. Okay. So here's what, and you guys can step in if you need to speak up and I don't see you, just jump in. Okay. So here's what is next for all of us. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, here is what's next for all of you. So review the handouts to think about your story and something specific from your life that demonstrates the importance of the Family Care Act. Personally, I would recommend starting an outline, okay, and just start marking down thoughts. And the handouts that I have sent you are for you. I don't need them. Rachel doesn't need them. They are to help you start to frame your story. If you use them, wonderful. If you don't, that's okay. And we'll be sharing some example stories soon so that as you're starting to try to officially write yours, you'll have a lot of examples. I would ask you that if you're interested to sign up for the Family Care Coalition and that email Charlie at DonnyCivicSolutions.com. You would just email Charlie and say, hey, I'd like to sign up. And he'll send you information about the bill, about meetings coming up, about advocacy opportunities. Reach out to Rachel, your regional coordinator, or myself if you have questions or any concerns.
Yeah, and Josie, I was just gonna say,
yeah.
like, adding on to what Josie had said,
Please.
that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to help you guys build your story. If you need, like, if you, like they were saying about, you know, you have some ideas down and you want to have a good ear of someone to listen to it, that's what I'm here for, to help. Part of what I'm here for, to help you build that. If you're confused or if you have any questions or you just want someone to listen to you or help you, you know, build your ideas, just reach out to me and we can make up a time to chat and talk about it. So,
Rachel, that's right. Absolutely right. We are not throwing any of you to the wolves. Okay,
yeah.
we are here for you. And Rachel, I so appreciate you mentioning that because Rachel's a safe person who I think will, you know, be an amazing help to all of you, and even just talking through your story and being like, hey, does this make sense? Like, you know, and I'm here to support Rachel also, and so, you know, we're all kind of supporting each other.
And just so everyone knows, I've experienced working with, you know, individuals through our SIL. That's what I do as part of my job. So I'm totally used to listening, giving suggestions, ideas, and things like that. So I'm well versed in that. So you don't have, you know, so you don't have to worry about, like, I don't know if she's gonna know what I'm talking about or if she's ever done this kind of, you know, helping individuals advocate for themselves. As far as individually, I've done that, some of that work. So
that's right.
I'm well versed in it.
Yeah, she's a pro.
So
She's
I'm
a
here
pro,
to help.
guys.
I'm here to help that way. So just reach out to me and we'll figure it out.
That's right. So you guys do not have an official assignment for our next training in October, but I really encourage you to take the time sooner than later to start drafting your story. If you do best by writing bullet points with you know, an assistant, a care attendant, a parent, do it. If you do better just sitting down writing the whole thing out, do it. You do you. Then sign and return a release form. If you have concerns about the release form that was in last night's email and that will be in the follow-up email, let me know. So once again, I joke that I'm selling, you know, this video for thousands of dollars. I'm not. But if you feel uncomfortable with us sharing your story, then, you know, please let us know. Join us on October 6th for our first monthly training, and that will be for the entire state. And how these will be set up is we'll have a guest speaker for about 20 minutes. Then me or someone else will help on giving you instructions on our assignments or activities for the week. And then we will break into breakout rooms with your regional leader to talk about how you're going to work on the project, if you're going to have a meeting sometime in that month, if you have questions. And so we're going to try to do multiple pieces during each of those trainings. Then I also wanted to give you the opportunity to watch a movie called 0 Weeks, and it provides a little bit better, no, just another example of the importance of paid family leave. So as you can see, we are going to watch it on September 22nd at 7 to 8. I put 8:20. That's a little specific. It's probably 8:30. But that is optional. You do not have to be there. But I'd love to have you join us. You would join us on the same Zoom account and we'll watch it together. And, you know, through all of these events, it's the same Zoom information. So say you forget or lose an email, it's the same stuff. It's the same login, the same phone number, no matter what week or month that we're in. Okay. So this is a final call for questions. William, you're spinning. Okay. Any sort or questions, just speak up.
Jody.
Yeah.
It is Jody. How long does your story need to be?
Can you say that one more time?
How long does it? How long does my story have to be?
It doesn't have to be any length. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is your story. It can be as long as you want it to be. I would say if you're just writing bullet points, I'd get at least 5 bullet points. But it could be a page. So you do whatever gets your story across. And you do not need to share those with us. We will talk about them on the October 6th meeting, but you do not need to send that to Rachel or I unless you want feedback. If you want help, that's what Rachel and I are here for.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. So I'm assuming you guys are all experts on the Family Care Act and can share your story with your legislator. But if you're not, that's okay. I don't expect you to know all of this information. So as you start working through it and you have a question, let us know. If you want feedback on what you've written, let us know. If you get into this and say, shoot, like I don't want to support the Family Care Act, I would ask you to email me directly and say, this isn't for me because I don't want to bug you if you're not feeling it. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions?
So this is Julie. I just have a brief question. Just to clarify, we can use a situation that happened to us in the past, say 7 years ago, that still could be affected by FMLA or the Family Care Act.
That's right.
Okay. Or maybe affected someone we cared for as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Carly?
Well, all the sessions run about 2 hours.
1 hour.
1
So when we're doing the monthly night meetings, they will be from 7 to 8 p.m. This one's longer because we were trying to give you like so much information. But we will be more focused in the future ones. So expect an hour.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. You guys have been wonderful. I am super stoked to get to know you all better. And if you have questions, let me know. We'll be sending out a reminder both of the movie and for the first session. So look for those in your email. If you have any problems, give us a call or a buzz on our email. We'll get in touch with you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys. It's been wonderful. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Nice seeing you, Josie.
Bye. Bye, William. Bye, all you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Chair.